There's one last topic to talk about, which I thought I just could not talk about this. I'm a huge Scottie Pippen fan. Scottie Pippen is my favorite basketball player. I love Michael Jordan. I love Scottie Pippen. The Bulls has always been, my team. And even though, I'm a Cavs fan, but like my all-time favorite team is that 90s Chicago Bulls team. And Scottie Pippen is just a guy. He's a phenomenal basketball player. He's an all-around player. He can play numerous positions. It's really hard to win the Defensive Player of the Year when you're not a center. But, he's a phenomenal defensive player. He's a guy, he might be the best defender against Michael Jordan, who we never saw actually defend him. So that's my take on Scottie Pippen. But anyway, in the social media, Shaq and Scottie Pippen have a feud going on. Shaq said that he thinks the top 5 all-time Lakers will beat the top 5 Bulls. Scottie Pippen obviously, disagreed with that. So
obviously, they were talking about the best, players for the Lakers versus the best players for the Chicago. Even if it was like the 90s team versus all-time best Chicago teams, I think definitely Shaq was right there. I mean, obviously Michael Jordan is the best single player ever, but when you talk about the Lakers, they do have, aside from Michael Jordan, they have all the other best players pretty much, right? I mean, if you think about it, even if you had the best players in Chicago, you'd have, Derrick Rose, you'd have, obviously, Michael and Pippen, but, Dennis Rodman, and who were some other greats for the Bulls.
I mean, they don't really have a great center. You might go with Bill Cartwright or Lou Longley, possibly.
But look at who the Lakers starting 5 would be, right? It would be Shaq, Kareem, Magic, Kobe, and there's no way that the Bulls... I mean, I understand that, sure, Jordan would definitely like the challenge and he would have amazing games, but he would be playing against Kobe. And I'm a Lakers fan, and I agree that Michael, who definitely beat Kobe, went to a 7-game series 5 out of 7 times. But, Kobe is also very similar to Michael, and Michael has said this, that they have a very similar approach to the game. Michael would definitely beat Kobe most of the times, but Kobe would play pretty darn hard. It's not like he would annihilate Kobe every single time. So that would weaken the Bulls a lot. And then, of course, just that Magic Johnson, Shaq, and Kareem would just destroy the rest of the Bulls. I mean, Derrick Rose is great, but we're talking about Magic Johnson here.
Obviously, the Lakers have had the three of the 4 best centers of all time.
Right.
Wilt Chamberlain.
And they didn't even have him on there.
Yeah, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaq. Some of the best wingmen, Kobe Bryant, Magic Johnson, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor.
They didn't even put Jerry West on the team.
I mean, there's so many good players, they're not even putting them in this top 5.
At least I don't think they were.
Which is arguable to begin with because there's so much talent. I thought, the way I felt about the whole situation was, I thought it was very funny that Shaq didn't say, Shaq had to go the route of all time, which is ridiculous considering the Lakers have had like half, if not more, of the best players in NBA history, like top 10 wise.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't beat them, but he doesn't say the 2000s Lakers versus the 90s Bulls, which would have been fair because... I don't know. I just think that's sort of ridiculous. Yeah. But I side with Scottie Pippen just because he's my favorite player. And I think that Shaq, if he really wanted to make a fair comparison, he would have said 2000 Lakers versus 90s Bulls, which he didn't. I also thought I'm actually a huge Shaq fan. When Michael Jordan retired, Shaq was the player I followed. I was a big fan of the Miami Heat, the Phoenix Suns, the Boston Celtics, and the Cleveland Cavaliers because I basically rooted for whatever team Shaq was on. But, he's really taken this too far. Instead of just letting it rest, he's making, 2 or 3 more posts. He's putting Scottie Pippen under the rug and really disrespecting him. I don't know why he feels it's necessary to do that. Scottie Pippen's a great player. Michael Jordan would have not won those championships without him.
Right.
They beat the Orlando Magic in the playoffs.
Sure.
I feel like Shaq's taking it too far.
Yeah.
I feel like Obviously the old-time Lakers would beat the all-time Chicago Bulls
Sure.
just because they're just too deadly.
Yeah, there's just so many great players. I mean, those '90s Bulls were some of the best teams ever. But the Lakers have been to the finals 31 times. So when you've made it that many times, obviously you'll have so many other great players. Obviously I think why having that type of a conversation. But yeah, those '90s Bulls team probably would be interesting to see them match up with those, the 2000 Lakers where they went to the finals 4 times and won 3 in a row. Because those teams were pretty darn good. I mean, I think the Lakers really, the only team that kind of during that 3-year run that gave them any type of a threat were the Sacramento Kings. But other than that, I don't think that they would beat the Bulls, at least in that second three-peat. I think that's when they were the better of the 2 three-peats. But it would be interesting to see that. But it was just a fun little thing.
I felt like it was fun. Maybe Scottie Pippen was wrong. Shaq just took it too far.
I think so too.
It went from a playful conversation to making it personal.
Sure.
People can say all they want about Scottie Pippen. Obviously, Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time. Scottie Pippen contributed to that team. He made Michael Jordan better.
Sure.
They battled in practice. I respect Scottie Pippen tremendously. His philosophy was, I'm going to battle Michael Jordan every single day. And to be a player of his talent and to take a back seat to Michael Jordan is very impressive. A lot of players, their ego is too big to do that. So, it was a fun thing. Shaq took it way too far. I don't think he'll do this, but it would be nice if he actually apologized to Scottie Pippen. But yeah, I mean, you look at the Lakers, they're probably, they would only start 2 of their 3 best centers.
Right.
So you're going to lose that matchup. There's nobody that's going to match up against Wilt Chamberlain or Shaq or, Kareem and Chamberlain or whoever. Right. Michael Jordan's going to have his hands full with Kobe. He might win the matchup, but a
lot of it's going to be canceled out because you know that Kobe would be pretty darn ready to take him on. And we've seen them play when Kobe's early years, and he had some pretty good games against Michael.
Yeah. I mean, Magic Johnson, top 10 player of all time. Most people would definitely put him on that list.
And some people even say he's the best
ever,
but, not as many, obviously, as Michael. But
he's going to win that matchup against Scottie. And then Dennis Rodman, one of the best defensive players of all time, arguably the best rebounder of all time, but he's not a great offensive player.
Right.
And then, Derrick Rose is a great player, but there's a lot of great players. I'm not sure, Jerry West, if he would play, he's one of the all-time greats. Elgin Baylor,
I think
Worthy.
Yeah. So, right. Yeah. Just come on. Right. It's not going to happen. Now, the only thing I guess that you could dispute, like Shaq said, they beat him by 50.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but maybe one game. But I don't even think that. It's like, come on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would also disagree with.
Maybe beat like a team on average of 50 if it was like the Charlotte Bobcats, greatest
right?
ever. Then sure, you'd beat them by 50. But
because they have the 90s Bulls had pretty much mastered that triangle offense, and they had a lot of players that nobody wanted. That offense was just so. Even the Lakers in the 2000s, some of their bench players might have not been what other teams would have had a huge desire to get. But that triangle offense that they mastered, made those players hide their weaknesses and propel their strengths. So it would be fun. All right, so that was our summer update. Please like and subscribe.
We'll be back in a few weeks.
Yeah. Peace out. Go Cavs.